We don't need to reward people for being late. So let's call to order. 7:32. So we have an announcement of simulcast, but that just came up on everybody's screen, right? So we don't have to worry.
Yep. Apparently we lost Deb.
Oh, gee.
Give her a second.
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I went to close the little notification that it was being simulcast, and all of a sudden I was gone. All right. So can we get a motion to approve and accept the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Aye.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, how about the minutes of September 21st?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. All right, so we have two speakers tonight. Carrie Catan from Climate Change and Chris Dempsey, but it doesn't look to me like Chris Dempsey is here yet, so.
Yeah, he's coming later today.
Oh, okay, well, I was gonna say, let's reward.
And he knows we'll
Carrie
have
early.
Carrie first. too.
What?
He knows Carrie will go first. Because
Oh, okay, we have him first on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carrie, from Massachusetts Organizer for Climate Exchange, thank you for coming and welcome.
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much for letting me come and talk to you tonight about the Green Future Act and my organization. So as just a brief intro, my name's Carrie. I'm the Mass Organizer for Climate Exchange. We are a small to medium-sized environmentalist organization that does policy, advocacy, and research work. And we're pretty active in Massachusetts. Is it okay if I show a quick slideshow of the bill we're currently working on?
Yep. I just need to give you permission to do so. There you go.
Great. So my organization and at this point 36 others are all collectively working to try to pass the Green Future Act, also called H3292. This is a bill on Beacon Hill currently in the House that we hope will help make sure that the state has a comprehensive plan to address the climate crisis. So the Green Future Act is designed to do a few different things. It's designed to make sure we meet our climate goals, we create jobs, we invest in environmental justice communities, and we direct resources to municipalities. If anyone was following news back in March, the state passed the Next Generation Roadmap Act. This act did a lot when it comes to dealing with the climate crisis, from increasing the amount of electricity Massachusetts will buy that's generated by windmills, to changing regulations on everything from solar panel financing to how much water a new toilet can use, to setting ambitious climate greenhouse gas emissions reduction target goals. However, one thing the Act noticeably fails to do is actually put funding into reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and readying ourselves for the effects of climate change. So the Green Future Act was written to kind of fix this hole in the law and to make sure that we're actually putting our money where it needs to go, and that we're doing so in a way that makes the Commonwealth better. So the Act raises funds through two principal means. One is green bonding, which more or less boils down to making it easier for the state legislature to borrow money as long as it's going to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. The second source of financing is a pollution fee, also called a carbon tax. This would tax fossil fuels when they enter the state. It's the way to deal with climate change that's most popular with economists. And we have actually already had a carbon tax on electricity production for about a decade, which is one reason why New England now only has one coal-fired power plant. And for middle and upper income households, the tax would boil down to an increase in utility bills of around $10 a month. One thing that I like pointing out is it's also no bigger than it needs to be. The carbon tax is in the bill projected to be pegged to what is projected to be needed in order to hit our climate goals. So it won't be any higher than what Massachusetts researchers determine is necessary. And if we're doing really well, then it would shrink, less money would be raised, and less money would be spent. Since I know I just talked to you guys about taxes, and that's understandably not very popular, I do want to point out one thing that's relevant to this bill, which is even under our current system, your utility bills will go up without the bill. The long and short of it is Massachusetts natural gas infrastructure is disintegrating because some of it's literally a century old. It's projected to cost more than $20 billion to keep our natural gas system going until 2050. And that does not even include the fact that we would still at some point need to switch away from using fossil fuels. Because if we indefinitely use fossil fuels, we just can't. That would be catastrophic. So the idea for this bill is that we should spend our money as a Commonwealth to fight climate change and to move away from fossil fuels, rather than upkeeping expensive and degrading infrastructure that we need in order to keep our current system going. So that's where the money comes from. Where the money goes is about half of it would go to green infrastructure funds. This would be a state-run board that could direct funding to a broad range of programs, everything from subsidizing electric vehicles to expanding public transit to in-state R&D. And they would have broad discretion as long as it reduces the state's greenhouse gas emissions. About a quarter of the funding would go to municipal aid. This is modeled after the Community Preservation Act. Every town would receive a certain amount of money based off of its population. And unlike the state's already existing programs, this one wouldn't be grant-based, because grant-based programs disadvantage smaller towns and towns without the resources to get a grant writer. Another section of the bill basically has a Green Workforce Commission to help displaced fossil fuel workers financially land on their feet and for job retraining and development. And then this isn't part of the bill in and of itself, but it's kind of built in throughout, is a commitment to environmental justice. In Massachusetts, historically, some communities have faced far higher levels of pollution than others. We try to fix this issue by making sure that environmental justice communities are represented at the state and local level where decisions are being made, and that they receive extra resources to help deal with their pollution crisis. The bill also includes a quarterly green dividend to low and moderate income households. This will basically make sure that any money raised from low income households would get mailed back to them in a check, to make sure that we're not accidentally creating a regressive tax. The overall idea with the bill, what it boils down to at the end of the day, is to make the green option the cheapest option, to make it so that even if someone does not care about the climate, they will still switch away from using natural gas and driving gas vehicles and all of the other things that we know we need to do as a Commonwealth if we are going to get off fossil fuels. because we're going to make doing the right thing the cheapest option. And we're getting near the end, but I do like pointing out the net benefits of the bill. Our in-house research team has found that this bill would create 83,000 net jobs in Massachusetts by 2030. A lot of it would be in occupations you'd expect: construction, vehicle driving, electricians. But a lot of jobs are also created through reduced reliance on importing fossil fuels. Our current energy system, where we import $17 billion worth of fossil fuels every year as a state, creates a lot of jobs. But since Massachusetts doesn't have, any oil or natural gas wells of itself, those jobs are in Wyoming, in Canada, in Saudi Arabia. And if we can generate more of our electricity in Massachusetts, that's jobs and that's money that we get to keep in our communities. This bill would also project to show large-scale increases in air pollution as we burn less fossil fuels. It would help the health of citizens across the Commonwealth. Right now, more than 7,000 people die every year from air pollution in the state, and that is something we definitely need to work to fix. And just pulling out the numbers from Mansfield, based off of its population, Mansfield would qualify for $4.7 million in local funding between 2023 and 2030. The program would keep going after 2030. It just becomes useless to estimate out how much Mansfield would get at that point. And this could be spent by the town government on everything from climate mitigation projects to preserving green space to incentivizing homeowners to switch to heat pumps. So that is all of the policy side of things. On the political side of things, right now we have 72 co-sponsors in the House, a majority of Democrats. We have a hearing in the TUE committee at some point between next week and February, because that's how much the State House likes to plan in advance. But we're currently doing well in the TUE committee, working to build support with its members, and we think we're in a good position. We also have a coalition of groups, the Green Future Now Coalition, all working together to pass the Green Future Act. We've been doing pretty well through Single-Minded Focus, a large and long-running phone banking operation to get environmentalists and target districts to contact their state reps, and doing work inside Beacon Hill. If you've listened to this and you're interested in helping, there are a lot of great ways to do it. You can contact your state rep and tell them you want them to support the Green Future Act, which you can do at our website, greenfuturenowma.org, where we lay out all of the steps if you've never done it before to contacting your rep. Neither Rep Scallion or Rep Barrows have co-sponsored to date, and we'd like to fix that. And if you'd like to get more involved, we also have bi-weekly phone banking operations to talk to environmentalists whose representatives have not co-sponsored yet, and to make sure that we are mobilizing people to take action and help pass this bill. And this is my email down at the bottom. And if anyone would like these slides, I would be happy to email them out.
Yeah,
So
why
I know
don't you
it
do
just
that,
popped
Carrie?
a lot at you.
Why don't you send those to us and we can send them out to everybody, because then people have time to go through it more slowly and digest it a little.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do we have time for any questions?
Yes, yes. Does anybody have any questions for Carrie?
Carrie, could you give us the bill number again?
H3292.
Thank you.
Page 3292, okay. Anything else from people? Joe? You're muted though, and Nancy. Joe first, but he's muted, then Nancy.
Okay, I'm sorry. I guess I should have done the hand raise thing on the chat.
It's okay.
No, Ted Phillips represents a precinct in Mansfield as well.
Yeah, we have
Is he
three.
a sponsor? I'm sorry?
No, so he said we actually have 3 reps and for one
Yeah.
town, which is ridiculous, but that's the way it is. But so Ted Phillips is also one of our reps. Dave Barrows is a Republican. That's not going to happen, but the other 2 are
Yeah,
very
we do
possible.
actually we have 1 Republican and the sole independent in the House on board. But yeah, I don't think Ted Phillips is not that one Republican.
No, he's a Democrat. Jay Barrows
Oh.
is a Republican. Yeah.
Sorry.
So
Wow, I did not actually realize you guys had 3 districts when I looked.
Yeah, no, Ted Phillips is from Sharon.
somebody's got a TV.
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
Ted Phillips is a co-sponsor.
All right, go Ted. Okay, great. Nancy, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to hear a little bit, Carrie. Thanks for coming and presenting and encouraging us to reach out to our reps and things of that nature. Can you just talk just for a minute, like what are the biggest objections to this bill? I imagine cost, right? You know, whatever the costs are, but what are you hearing are the objections, just to get a feeling for that?
Yeah, so we haven't run into too many well, there's really like 2 different ways that there's two different objections. I think one is just generally fossil fuel companies like Eversource don't particularly care for this bill, and they're obviously going to lobby very hard against it for their own self-interest. But there's also some groups that dislike the fact this bill has a carbon tax because they see it as a capitalist solution, and some groups are avowedly socialist and they don't care for that.
Okay.
Sally?
Yeah, thank you, Carrie. So Charlie Baker is all in for this massive hydroelectric power line coming down through Maine. Of course, that's very controversial in the Maine election this next month. So this seems much more decentralized power, more solar power, more community input. So what would, I tell us what Climate Exchange thinks about the hydroelectric?
Yeah, so in our bill, and I think in our views in general, we're very pro putting funding behind solving the climate crisis and creating systems to make sound decisions. But we don't tend to comment too much on individual decisions or individual actions. I don't think as an organization we have a particular stance on the power line issue.
Okay.
Okay, so we have time for one more question if anyone has one. Or are we good? Okay, and I hear, so it looks like our next speaker is in a rush, so we're thank you, Carrie. Send us the slides and we will send them out to everyone, including the people that aren't here, so people have time to digest it, and people can always email you with because your email is on there.
Will do. Thank you so much for talking to me today. I hope you have a good evening.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, next we have Chris Dempsey, who is a candidate for state auditor. Chris, where'd he go? I just saw him. There you go. Your rectangle moved. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Deborah. Good evening, everybody. Really appreciate you being on tonight and the opportunity to join you all. And I want to acknowledge Joe Kaplan, who has just been awesome to work with and coordinate with to make sure that tonight happened. So really grateful to Joe. My name is Chris Dempsey. I'm running for Massachusetts State Auditor because I believe that Massachusetts is the greatest state in the country and we deserve a state government to match. And the state auditor's office is all about making state government more transparent, more accountable, more fair, and more efficient. I'm trying to be efficient tonight by taking this meeting in the passenger seat of a car as we drive back from Beverly, and I need to jump quickly to another DTC Zoom in Falmouth. And I really appreciate you fitting me in to your schedule tonight. So thank you for doing that. I'm the son of public school teachers. They met while teaching at the Martin Luther King School in Boston in 1970. They were placed in adjoining classrooms, and it was love at first sight. That's my dad's version of the story, at least. My mom is not so sure that it was love at first sight. And I've seen the way that my dad dressed in 1970, and I can understand what her reservations may have been. But eventually she came around, and I was the product of that happy marriage, along with my little sister, Allison, who is also a public school teacher, along with her wife in New York City. So I'm from a family of public school teachers, and my parents were like many teachers across the Commonwealth, in that they were digging into their own pockets to pay for school supplies for their students. And that experience, seeing them do that and the sacrifices that they made to make sure that their students had a solid education, led me into a career of public service and sticking up to protect the public interest. And I think that's what you want in a state auditor, is someone who has that executive branch experience to make state government work better and who has stood up to protect taxpayers. As Assistant Secretary of Transportation for Governor Deval Patrick, I co-founded the MassDOT program that created all of the smartphone apps that tell you when your bus or train is going to arrive. Now, we did not fix the more fundamental problem that your train and bus is still often too late, but we at least gave you the power of that information in the palm of your hand. You used to not know if your bus was 4 minutes away or 44 minutes away, and now you can plan your day and spend more time with your family or at the gym or wherever you'd rather be than waiting out in the cold or the rain for that bus. I'm sure you all will agree the MBTA is not known as a place for innovation. It was when I was there. We made it the very first transit agency on the entire East Coast to make those apps available to riders. I've also stood up to protect the public interest. Some of you may remember back in 2014 and 2015, there was a $15 billion proposal to bring the summer 2024 Olympics to Boston. And maybe for some of you, that was a pretty exciting idea. It was for me. I love this state, and why not show it off to the world? But then you start to read the history of prior Olympic cities, and you see the fine print of the International Olympic Committee contract, which would have required all of us as state taxpayers to sign a guarantee that we would cover 100% of the cost overruns of the 2024 Olympics. And I didn't think that that was the right thing to do for the future of our Commonwealth, to put our public resources at risk when we have so many other needs. So I created, along with some others, a group called No Boston Olympics. Now, we were going up against some of the most powerful business interests in Massachusetts, including John Fish, the owner of the largest construction company in Massachusetts, including Mayor Marty Walsh of Boston, and including my former boss, Deval Patrick. We got outspent on that campaign 1,500 to 1. They spent $15 million to sell you the idea that that was what we needed to do with the Commonwealth's public resources. We spent less than $10,000 on our side. We had two things going for us that allowed us to win. Number one is we had the facts and the data and the information about the prior Olympic hosts and the IOC contract. And number two, we had so many of you. We had regular citizens who stood up and who went to our website, who sent in grassroots contributions, who put bumper stickers on your car, who talked to your state reps and state senators about your concerns for the bid. And we were able to turn the tide through that process. My takeaway is that when you put good information in front of the people of Massachusetts, we tend to be a pretty savvy bunch. We tend to make pretty good decisions. And that's what the state auditor does. It looks into every corner of the executive branch of state government. It figures out what's working and what's not working and how things need to change. And it puts that information into the public realm so that we can build a stronger state government and a stronger Commonwealth through that process. We know that state government isn't doing enough to address climate change and high housing costs and our transportation crisis, and even just fixing basic public services that aren't delivering in this really important moment of recovery from COVID. And I know that Massachusetts can and must have a state government, a Commonwealth that fixes those problems and helps everyone to succeed. And that's why I'm running for state auditor. I would be honored to have your support. I ask for your support and your vote in this race. We are building a grassroots campaign from Pittsfield to Provincetown and many places in between, including in Mansfield. And very much, again, appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. If we do have time, I'm glad to take a question or two, and then I'll jump off to get over to the Falmouth Democratic Town Committee meeting. Thanks so much.
Well, we have time. Any questions for Chris? Joe? You're muted, Joe. You're on mute. Okay.
This is maybe more of a comment than a question, but I have to say, I really admire the work on the no on the Boston Olympics. And I have to tell you what the yes people did. They were at South Station when commuters like myself got off. And the pitch they were making is, well, we know the trains never run very well, but if we have international visitors, we're going to have to fix it for them. And it will kind of just trickle down on you. It's kind of be a side benefit.
I remember that.
And it was just so offensive. And they were people.
It was insulting. Yeah.
It was very, very insulting. They were talking to us. And I said, you know what? The public transportation absolutely needs to be fixed. But if you're not going to do it for us, don't do it. Keep it broken. You know, it was very offensive. It was very elitist. They looked like people that never stepped on a bus or a train in their lives. They were, you know, and I love youth in politics, but they were younger people telling us how transportation works and how it's so important that we fix up our image for the world, that, you know, little peasants, little working schmucks like us will reap some of the benefits of what we're doing for international visitors.
Well,
And
Joe,
it
I should have
really-
hired you. I should have hired you as our spokesperson. We couldn't really afford to pay you because we spent less than $10,000, but we would have been glad to have you because you're exactly right. And I think we do need to fix our transit system, but we need to fix it for the people that actually use it every day, not for the Princess of Liechtenstein or the Prince of Monaco. I will tell you that I will be the first statewide elected official to commute to Beacon Hill by transit since Mike Dukakis left office in 1991. And that's not a pledge I'm making to you because it's some sort of campaign stunt. That's who I am. I'm a person that rides transit, and that's what I've always done. And I will continue to do that as your next state auditor.
Well, all we have to do is have an international event. We'll fix it for them, and you'll enjoy riding this tea.
One thing I'll say, Joe, is I do like hosting sporting events, and I'm hopeful that we will host the World Series this year. Although, given the Sox last night and tonight, I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm still holding out hope that maybe we've got a World Series in our future this year.
Okay, any other questions for Chris? Before he runs off to his Falmouth, which is probably 8 o'clock, right? Okay, Jackie?
Chris, Jackie, this is an unusual race that you're not actually running against an incumbent since Suzanne is retiring. What, if any, are there changes that you would make to the auditor's office? And have you sat down with Suzanne at all and learned the ropes?
Yeah, Jackie, that's a great question. So I really admire Suzanne Bump. I've known her since 2006 when we met on the Deval Patrick campaign. And I think she's done an excellent job as state auditor, and I want to build on her legacy. She even said in her statement about not running for re-election that she thought there was more that could be done with the office, and she was excited to see what the next generation could bring to it. And I'll offer one example of what I will do. I will make the Massachusetts State Auditor's Office the first in the country to incorporate carbon accounting into our audits of relevant state agencies. And that will allow us to hold those agencies accountable to the laws that are on the books that require them to reduce carbon emissions and local air pollution. I think that's a critical role for the state auditor to do. And I will tell you that we may be the first state auditor's office in the country to do that. I promise you we will not be the last, because once we start doing it here, it will travel to other states around the country, and we can make Massachusetts a national leader on this issue and a place of innovation on this issue.
Thank you, Chris.
That sounds great. Okay, anything else for Chris? Because I know he has to run. Okay, thank you, Chris. On to your next Zoom call.
Thanks so much for fitting me in, folks. It's really great to be with you, and I look forward to seeing you all in person soon.
All right, thank you. Thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
Okay, next we have Secretary's Report. Austin, anything?
Nothing to report this month.
Okay, and then we have Treasurer's Report. Lisa? Lisa?
Sorry, I couldn't get off mute there for a sec. We currently have $1,673.85. No activity, I don't think, since the last meeting.
All right, thank you. Okay, outreach officer Sally.
Hi. Hello, everyone. We had a wonderful book group discussion group about Our Time Is Now. It was really wonderful. Thanks to Melanie, who facilitated, and Costas, who was also there for the MC. We're putting out a survey. I said this last month. It's been a very busy month. A survey to see what books you'd like us to choose for next month. We have a fabulous list. So I'll be sending that to Deb to forward to everybody. We're meeting on October 26th at 7:30 p.m. via Zoom. So please email me if you'd like to join us. The agenda is a book group, looking at the membership survey remarks as via the membership and outreach. And also the knit band, we're working on that again, thanks to Austin, who shared with us wording rock solid, approved by the AG. So we hope to put that on the as a town warrant. So if you'd like to work on any of these things, please join us. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, old business, fundraising. Brendan, is he here? Is Brendan here?
I think that's actually me, and there's no report. That's okay.
I thought it was Brendan. Okay. Okay. Then Mansfield votes. Nancy.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to put out to the group at large, and this will go in the meeting notes, that I think it's time for a leadership change with Mansfield Votes. I just haven't been able to give it the time and energy that it needs. I wanted to invite somebody else to consider taking it over and facilitating the group and some of the goals that you could create together. And I just wanted to announce that tonight and see if, pass it along and think about it and call me, and I'm more than happy to help with it. I just don't have the bandwidth to do what needs to be done with it at this point. So I wanted to toss that out there. And just wanted to give another shout out to Suzanne and Brendan, who worked, mostly Suzanne actually, who worked on the survey, the membership survey, which Joe will talk about, I think, briefly. But it came out of the Mansfield Votes meeting some time ago, and Suzanne really ran with it and did all the work behind it. And I hope the executive committee takes the time to really go through it and see what gems are in there that we've discovered, and see how that might inform strategy and other practices of the Mansfield Democratic Town Committee. And I just wanted to say, on everybody's behalf, thanks to Suzanne for doing all that work. So that's all I have tonight.
I have one comment for Nancy or for everyone. I had said this to Nancy before, and I said it again today, and I kind of feel pretty strongly about it. When Mansfield Votes originally started, it was supposed to, there was the idea that it was supposed to like register everyone, get everyone to vote. I feel that if it's going to be a subset of the Democratic Town Committee, it should not be bipartisan. I don't want Republicans to vote. Okay, and I don't know how the rest of you feel, but I thought I'd put that out there. If there's a leadership change, this is maybe an important time to address that issue. We should be registering Democrats. Thoughts? Well, at least I got it off my chest.
I think there's a way to do that, Deb. And I think, one of the ideas that's been dangling there for me, but I haven't taken action on, is there are a lot of people who still aren't registered to vote, and it would take a little bit of resources, but there could be a letter from the Mansfield Democratic Town Committee that, invited them to, participate in the political process and gave them connections to register to vote. So, I mean, there's ways to reach out to people as a Mansfield Democratic Town Committee.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea, the letter.
So I guess it's something for discussion, and if the group continues.
Okay, anyone else have thoughts on this?
So Deb, I would just add, I mean, maybe the way to finesse that is just to think about it in terms of registering people to vote from constituencies that traditionally have not registered in sufficient numbers, communities of color, low-income communities, things like that. You don't have to make it quite so explicit that it's a Democrat thing, but we would be registering people who are more likely to turn out to vote for Democrats.
Right. I mean, because it is a committee of the Democratic Town Committee. It's almost duplicitous to say, oh well, we'll register anybody. I don't know. It's bugged me for a long time.
I guess I wonder how you would operationalize that if you were at the Mansfield Family Fun Night and you had a booth that said register to vote and it said, but only if you're a Democrat.
No, I know. So if you had a Republican, you'd be like, okay, here it is. You'll have to take it over to town hall on Monday.
I think the focus could be on registering historically underrepresented people.
Yeah, I like that idea,
voters.
David.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also when we went to Juneteenth in Walpole, the fact that Mansfield Votes was nonpartisan allowed us to be there because they didn't want it to be a political event. So we can play that, we can use that to our advantage sometimes.
One thing I was thinking about, just kind of along the lines of what Deb is saying, though, is that the mission, I think we have to regroup once in a while and think about the mission of the whole town committee and what we're here to do and why we're here is to get Democrats elected and to advance the platform of the Democratic Party at the local level, and then whatever we want to do above and beyond that. But, I think it's just important to keep that in mind. That's my only point, we've got all these little side groups and things going on. What are we doing as a whole committee to advance our true mission, which is why we're supposedly all in this together, right? In this organization. So I just wanted to chime in on that.
Yeah, all the subcommittees should be working toward that ultimate goal.
Yes.
Okay. Well, anyway, think about what Nancy said, because she needs a replacement. And talk to her. Okay. Local committee. So the Committee on Election Support of Committee Members, Colin.
Yes, we have, we presented our final or our semi-final report last month, and we made a couple of tweaks in it as suggested by the committee. And this is the final language, which you have it? Can you post it?
It's on the back of the agenda, on the same page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Campaign Support Committee shall consist of at least 3 full or associate members appointed by the chair of the Mansfield Democratic Town Committee. The members will be responsible for recruiting volunteers to organize within the town of Mansfield, coordinating with campaigns on local events, providing training for volunteers. The Campaign Support Committee will be available to all Democratic nominees who meet the state Democratic platform criteria, excluding primary races. So that addressed the 2 problems that we had pointed out to us the last meeting. So that's our final report.
Thank you, Colin. Nancy, you have a question?
Say again?
Ask Nancy if she had a question.
I just wondered how that, I'm probably late to the dance here on this one, but how does that impact local committee races, that mission?
Local committee races?
Local races for elected office.
Nonpartisan races?
Right.
This policy would not affect that. We could do whatever we wanted on nonpartisan races.
This
is strictly within the parameters of the Democratic Party.
So the training and or whatever else that you were describing wouldn't apply to supporting a person who's perhaps a Democrat running for a local election?
No, because they're not running in a Democratic election. We felt as though that might be a little bit tricky to navigate as far as the committee is concerned, because there could be 2 Democrats running for the school committee and we have them running against one another, and then we have our resources split, and how do you allocate those resources? And then there's personalities involved, and I think it's a formula for pretty much disaster.
Yeah,
We've seen
typically done that in the local races on a more informal basis.
Yeah, I mean,
this is going into the bylaws, so
everybody's free to support whomever they want, and obviously the training that anybody would receive could be applied to any local race they wanted to. It just wouldn't be through the auspices of this committee. But obviously, if you had training as to how to run a campaign, and then you could help a local candidate. But it
Okay,
wouldn't be a formal situation.
sounds good to me. Does, do we have a motion to accept this language for addition to the bylaws?
So move.
Joe, any
Second.
second? Lisa, second. All in favor?
I
Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Congratulations, Colin. Good work. And
Deb,
Costas
could I
and
just
Dana.
thank Costas and Dana for their
Yeah.
help on this as
Yeah.
well. And that's it.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so committee for donation of books to the libraries in honor of Randy Tatum. That's Mary Kate or Colin. I think Mary Kate's speaking on it.
I think Mary Kate's gonna go first.
I'll go first. Okay. So this project is in memory of Randy Tatum, and it'll be raising money to donate to the Mansfield Public Library and the Mansfield High School Library for them to invest in books and materials on racism, racial equity, and social justice. Colin is going to be coordinating with the Mansfield Public Library, and Dana will be coordinating with the Mansfield High School Library. So Colin can maybe talk a little bit about what he's talked with the librarian about so far with the public library, and then I can tell people how they can donate to the.
Yeah, I had a brief conversation with Catherine Coyne. I was pretty sure how this worked because I was on this committee for the Library Board of Trustees for years, but I just wanted to make sure that it hadn't changed over time, and it had not. The library does not accept books in other people's names. They only accept money, and they will do the purchasing. So that makes it, in other words, they have a specific process where they vet the books, they select the books, and then they buy the books, and they'll put a plate in honor of Randy in any book that we provide money to buy. We can probably tweak the language, what we want to put on that plate. I haven't talked to her about that, about how flexible they are is what the book plate will say. Obviously, they will buy in the area of the subject area that we recommend. We can also recommend specific titles. They may already have those titles, which is quite possible. That's one reason they don't take books, because they don't want duplicates. So, and then the library will will inform Randy, Randy's widow, that what books were bought in his name, and that will be their responsibility. So it's a fairly simple process. So we'll be giving them money, and they will be buying the books on, in areas that we recommend.
Sounds
So
good.
to that end, we've opened an account to collect donations from anybody who's interested in donating to the project between now and December 15th. And then at the end of this campaign, we'll be giving a check to both libraries. So to donate, you can make a check payable to the Randall Tatum Memorial Book Fund, and you can send it to me and I'll make the deposits. Or we're also in the process of trying to set up an Act Blue option for people who would prefer to make a donation by credit card.
Were
We'll
you
also
doing
send out.
Venmo? Were you doing Venmo too?
It's just
Didn't
not
work
going to
out?
work because it's got to be connected to a cell phone, and it's so it really. I talked with Austin about this earlier, and we decided that the best option would be the Act Blue.
But okay, as long as Act Blue knows we're staying away from our regular account. This is so separate. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
So we'll also send out an email to everybody with all the details, who to make the check out to, what address to send it to, or the Act Blue fund to send it to.
Okay. All right. Yes. When you get the email that we thought, you can always, I know when I get emails and I might want to donate to somebody, I can save it as, I might not do it that second. So you have the option to save it as new as a reminder, right? We just tell you here now and it just evaporates, but.
We'll hound people for a while too.
Okay. Yes. Pull out your checkbooks, people. All right. Thank you, Mary Kate. And Colin. Next is Scholarship Committee. There's nothing going on there, right? So kind of off.
Not yet.
Off schedule. Membership Committee, Joe.
Yes, we met, membership committee met September 17. And one thing we looked at was Brendan's markup for the website, and we decided to ask the full committee to approve it. I don't know if you've all seen it yet or not. the template for the website. Is Brendan
You
here?
know,
Brendan, are you really here? Are you? Oh,
Yeah, I'm
very
really
good.
here.
Okay.
I don't remember. Did you send it out to the full committee yet?
I thought I passed it along. I thought to Deb, it might have gone out before the last meeting, but that
Okay.
was,
I'm not
I
sure
don't remember.
that it did. I don't really remember it.
Well, maybe we can do that again. I'm not sure too
Yeah,
many.
we probably
yeah,
should.
I don't recall it being distributed. So
Okay. So
Yeah.
maybe we can have a vote on it at the next meeting, and people can send in their suggestions if there's anything they want to change. We discussed the survey that was conducted. Again, thank you, Suzanne. It was a great job, and you gave us a great presentation at the membership meeting. And ideas came from that, that we might want to put out more information about each subcommittee, including time expectations. Some people might not know what's involved in being part of one of these committees. We talked about that 17 out of 30 respondents were concerned about people challenges on the committee, and that could possibly be a barrier to increasing participation. Going back to what Lisa said earlier, the idea of a cohesive challenge for the committee resonated, that we really should I think we all know our mission, but to just keep reminding it, putting it out there publicly, and just stating it a lot among ourselves to keep us focused on it. And we also talked about the possibility that maybe we should have a professionally run retreat to talk about how we handle issues, how we handle controversies that might come up. Wouldn't be about rehashing old arguments. It would be about where do we go from here? And it would be separate and apart from a meeting. So we want to throw that out there to see if people are responsive to that. We're not really making a formal proposal about that yet. We talked about bring a friend night. Debbie, Nancy talked about this idea, which is a very good one, to maybe pick a night where we bring people out, a membership committee meeting. But we also talked about maybe we just have a special event. We have like a party or a social, and we invite people to that to just come and learn about us. And we thought probably that would pick up post-COVID, whatever that might be. It might be easy to work it around that when you can actually meet people personally. And going back to what Nancy said earlier too, I think it was Brendan who found that there are about 1,000 households in Mansfield that are consistent voters and the consistent Democratic voters. So we thought maybe at some point, again, I think maybe when we have a bring a friend night or some kind of in-person social going, that might be the time, but maybe write to these people, the 1,000 households, and let them know about us and ask if they want to join us or at least be in touch with us or volunteer for campaigns or if they want to hear from us.
Good idea.
Yeah, so I think Kevin believes that he can help with the cost of printing. So we thought maybe a letter from you, Deb, or maybe the executive board, I don't know, but maybe a calendar, maybe an invitation to, a social event, and maybe give them a chance to respond back. We'd love for them to be members, but if they just want to be in touch about campaigns or they just want us to keep them informed of what's going on, 1,000 households probably represents about, 2,500 people. So I think, again, a lot's kind of put on hold because of COVID.
Right.
I think a lot of this will work better after COVID, but that's where we are now.
Well, those are a lot of great ideas. Okay, thank you. Bylaws committee, is that, what's going on with that, Austin? Is anything?
Given, I'm going to be ramping it up. The only thing on this agenda was was what we already did with Colin. So nothing
right.
further for this meeting.
All right, great. And then other local committees that we may have forgotten about? Anything we're forgetting? Anybody have anything to say? No? Okay, state committee report. Joe, Jackie?
I don't know who went to the convention or who did it. It was a very unconventional convention.
Yes, it was.
And voting ahead of time and all that. And then that day was really listening to speeches hopefully we won't have to do it by Zoom anymore. Hopefully it will just be live, but if people have any feedback, we certainly welcome that.
Well, it's certainly easy to leave the room, you know?
Right, right. Sometimes it's that way live too, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But when you're there live, you have to go back to your seat eventually. But but no, I think I heard a lot of speakers. But yeah, the feedback I would offer to the convention on Zoom and in person is you never know who's coming next. Like if there was some kind of list, like I remember last time we were there in person and we wanted to see Elizabeth Warren and you know, every state rep from central Massachusetts was coming on, and you just like, you know, you want to get up, but you can't because you're stuck waiting for this speech. So having an idea of when the next people are coming on would be really important. Like
Good.
when
Okay,
it was
that's-
on Zoom, I had it on in the kitchen, and I kind of, then if it was somebody, I'd leave the room, I'd come back.
Yeah.
You're there in person, you're just like, is Elizabeth, when is she coming? And then you think, okay, this is it. And it's like, and here's so-and-so from, you know, East Longmeadow. So
Yeah, I
that
hear
would be
you.
that would be my main feedback.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's true whether it's in person or not.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah. Just it doesn't have to be like every 7 minutes or whatever, but just a
Right.
idea.
Right. Yeah. That's a very good idea.
Okay. Anything else from the state committee, Jackie?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Neponset Valley Young Democrats, Brendan.
Yeah, so I'll just read off of, I sent out a quick update to our list last night. Our last general meeting will be on Monday, November 1st at 7 p.m. It'll be a virtual viewing of the Borderland movie that we had previously hosted here in Mansfield for the DTC. And Dana was helpful with connecting with us on that. And so that's the Facebook event is on our Facebook page, Neponset Valley Young Dems, to sign up for that. And then with campaign season in a couple local towns and cities, I was asked to pass along to our membership their standouts for Lori Sawyer for city clerk in Attleboro on Saturday, this Saturday and the following Saturday from 9 to 10:30 at County Square in Attleboro. And also the vice chair of Neponset Valley Young Dems, Dave McNeil, is running for school committee in Franklin. And so this Saturday, he's holding a standout at 10 and a canvas at 1. And I can pass along that information if requested.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brendan. All right, new business. Election to fill committee vacancy. Do we have any nominations? Joe?
I nominate Lee DeRosa.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
David seconds. All right. Okay.
Second.
Is there any discussion here? Lee, would you like to say anything, or should we just go ahead with the vote?
I'd go ahead with the vote.
Does anyone
Okay.
else wish to nominate themselves or someone else?
I can give a speech.
Do you want to, though? I mean, if you have one ready, otherwise you don't have to worry about it.
I do.
All right.
It's more hard.
Oh, you do? I'm sorry, what?
I do have a speech, and it is inspiring.
Okay, go ahead.
Politics and the nature of campaigns that go above and beyond. I've been very grateful and lucky to volunteer and, help staff members and bring in donations that I have stretched every way dramatically, and democratically. Mansfield Town Committee and I recognize the gifts of time and energy and money to make the commitment soar. Since 2015, right from the start, I was writing emails to our representatives, senators, and Congress. I text people every day appreciating the style of our own advice, including signing many political actions, petitions, and becoming a co-sponsor countless of many times through our election cycles. Specifically, I'd like to thank members of Congress for our interactions to form a good working relationship. Advocacy efforts help and start locally federal situations for various purposes. Now, I've continued my membership in the DNC, Emily's List, the Senatorial Campaign Committee, and Groundwork Project, created by Bill Kenny Bird. The issues and long-term services that are discussed are important talking points for future relationships. Now, in the DNC, zealous progressives and I support President Biden's Build Back agenda, which is for bipartisan infrastructure deals to make once-in-a-lifetime investments. It's for not wasting money, as most of us has been reading more into it, such as taxes, loopholes, tax breaks, and increasing stimulus money that provides more jobs. And so, in Emily's List, we're fighting abortion rights, as most of us are aware of what happened in Texas. Now, we're supporting what is called Women's Health Protection Act, a bipartisan pro-choice. And in conclusion, as I end my speech, for the Groundwork Project, with Team Kennedy and I, we have a nationwide movement voting a collective future year-round. And I thank Municipal Democratic Town Committee. I continue my support, my service. I thank the town board and the executive office and all of City Hall.
All right, thank you so much, Lee. I know you've been a member for a long time and you've been a hardworking one at that. It's nice to see you nominated. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, Austin, can we just go to a regular vote? We don't need to do some fancy vote, do we? Or what do you think?
No, we can just have a yes/no vote.
Okay, so all in favor of Lee becoming a voting member, say raise your hand. Okay. Any opposed? All right, it passes unanimously. Congratulations, Lee. Well deserved. Okay, awesome. Okay, potential new members in attendance. I saw one person, Amy. I don't mean to single you out and make you feel uncomfortable, but you're the only person here. I don't know.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. Yeah, I'm interested in this committee. I've been a long time Mansfield resident. I live on South Main Street with my husband and my son, who is a sophomore in high school and just got his driver's permit. Yay for me. Driving around in parking lots. So we've been in Mansfield for about 20 years. And I just think with everything that's happening in politics right now, I need to get a little bit more involved in things. I'd be interested become a member, and then maybe working in some things you were talking about, a little bit of marketing. I'd be interested in volunteering for poll work, for candidates, things like that. You know, I don't know how much time I can get involved in. I'm actually working part-time now. I'm a real estate attorney. So I am gonna try to get back to working a little bit more once my son does get his license and he can drive himself to soccer. So that's basically what I'm feeling right now, is just, you know, to get a little bit more involved in the local level. And I'm sure you've probably had a little bit of rumblings, you know, about that. But if you'd like to, you know, have me, I can donate, so I can volunteer some time.
Yeah, we'd love to have you. Austin, did you look? Is she a registered Democrat? Can we take care of this tonight?
I don't think I am, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, right now you show up as unenrolled.
Okay, yeah, you need to register as a Democrat in order to join.
Yeah, and that's fine.
And we have associate members, lots of associate members, and then what we just did with Lee was he moved from an associate member to a voting member.
I saw that, right.
We have you know, a lot of associate members, and we would love more.
Right, so Sally just sent me an email, so I can, just a message, so I can get in touch with her. and get the ball rolling, I guess, right?
Mary Ann will help you at the town hall. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to.
Oh, for the voting to change it. Sure. Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
you can
that's-
even
you
do
have
it
to do that
online with your
first.
driver's license number. So
Mhm.
Right. Amy, how'd you find out about us?
I think I was just poking around a little bit, and I found out about
Well, you looked in the
Yeah.
right place.
I don't think it was easy. Was it on Facebook? I think I might have had you on Facebook.
Yeah.
Just liked you on Facebook a while ago, though. And I think I probably just kind of was, just going around saying, what's going on locally, just because of everything that's going on, So I would rather tend to lean to be a Democrat. I've always, voted, I guess, issue, kind of litmus test issue, maybe not litmus test, but more issue oriented. And I just think it's time to say, maybe I'm not going to do that anymore. Maybe I should choose sides, and definitely would go Democratic. And yeah, so that's where I'm standing right now. And I think that most of the issues I've always slanted to be Democratic. So yeah, so I can change that. Go through a little bit of bureaucratic stuff and get that changed. Yeah, but nice to meet you all. Very interesting meeting. Nice to meet you all.
Well,
Yes.
Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you.
and hopefully someday soon we'll be able to meet in person.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Absolutely.
let's put the registration, then, which just takes a minute, right? Then maybe you can come next month and we can vote you in.
Okay. Thank you,
Make
Deborah.
it
That sounds
formal.
good.
Yep.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Pleasure of the committee. Anybody have anything?
I just have a little news announcement. I know everybody's been looking at the redistricting map, and our Senate district changed considerably. I know the vote's not going to happen until November, but our Senate district changed, and Seekonk and Rehoboth are no longer in our Senate district, although Canton and North Attleboro are now in our Senate district. So big changes as far as Paul Feeney's area goes. And those maps will be voted on in November. I think there's a hearing tomorrow, but the official vote is in November.
Yeah. But that's next month. So
Yeah, a couple of
it's
weeks.
already October
Yeah.
20th. So,
Yeah, but it's soon.
I know this.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. And good news is that there was a possibility that Ted Phillips would be losing his precinct in Mansfield and picking up a precinct in Foxborough. But I spoke to Ted yesterday, and it looks like the maps are going to be changed again, and he will be back in Mansfield again. And he really fought to be back in Mansfield.
It must be hard for them to not even know what,
It's so confusing. It's just so confusing. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Costas has his hand up.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Sorry if my audio is kind of bad. I'm using my phone tonight. Town meeting is in about 2 weeks. It's on Thursday, November 4th. It's a special town meeting. The select board is actually meeting tonight to finalize the warrant, but I'm sending a link in the chat to the town's website for the warrant as is right now. So hopefully they approve the warrant and finalize it, and then everyone will have a more consistent view as to what's going to be discussed at town meeting in a couple weeks.
And it's 100% in person, Costas?
Yep, it's 100% in person at the high school, and masks are required because we're in a municipal building, and that was under the advisement of the Board of Health.
That's interesting that they did that, because I thought they were talking about the DPW building at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at town hall today, and the select board is voting, in fact, on the warrant tonight. And they told me that the printed copies, the hand copies, will be available after tomorrow. So you'll be able, if you prefer to get a book that you usually get, everything will be available after tomorrow. And I know that they changed the quorum for the amount of people that needed to be at the town meeting.
Lowered it?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Joe?
I have a question about the warrant. I read it, I guess, online somewhere, and there seems to be a very confusing article that I'm worried could be used as a back channel to allow billboards. I don't know if I'm reading it right. Costas, do you or anyone else know about that?
Brendan seems to know.
Okay. Because I was, for those of you who don't know, I was just put on the planning board as an associate member. So I was, that we had, and the first meeting was about these articles. The one regarding the electronic signs, it was very specific, but we also, as the planning board, because it was a joint planning board and select board, I don't know what the select board's doing, but as the planning board, we actually rescinded our, we pulled back the warrant because we believed it needed more work. So as the planning board, so we didn't approve. We think it needs more work. I don't know what the select board will do, but they would also have to pull it back based on that. Because there was a couple various things in there that were kind of confusing, but that's, so it might not be. I'm sorry?
By pull it back, you mean withdraw it?
Withdraw it, yes, that's the term I'm looking for. Withdraw. So depending on the select board, it might not even be up at the town meeting at all.
Right, so it may show up on the warrant, on the booklet, but they'll announce at the night of town meeting that it's been pulled.
Well, I think if it's not withdrawn, we have to really decide if this is if this opens the door for billboards, because we have to defeat it again if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, that really needs clarification. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't know why they just won't let that go.
It's not like the big billboard sizes that we've had in the past ones. This was specifically, it's something similar to what the high school and the public safety buildings have on their signs. That was the mindset with the writing of that. But there were between where they're allowed, and they also, that was combined with signs, like lawn signs for various things and location and cleanup and who puts them where. So there was a lot of confusion on it. So that's why we thought it was going to be, but it's not like the big billboard that we've had at numerous past meetings that we along the highway.
Brendan, who sponsored this?
It was the planning board and the select board.
Oh, no, who submitted the warrant?
It came from the select board.
Okay.
It did originally.
Okay. All right, so we can ask them.
Yes, we can.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think it's the movable kinds of things. Like, I don't think it's these more permanent, like on high stanchions that were debated in the past. But I do see where there could be a lot more clarity around size and use.
So you're looking at it now?
I am. I have it.
There's no parameters about size?
Mm-mm. Well, yes, there's stuff about landscaping. There's site plan approval that's needed. One per property. It doesn't say the size of the board though, unless I'm not going back far enough.
I didn't see it, Antonio, and that's what was making me nervous, that it was in reference to the bigger billboards.
Yeah, it does say prohibited signs include signs. This is already on our books, actually, on our zoning bylaw. Prohibited signs in excess of 12 square feet, which overhang public ways, animated signs except for barber poles, off-site directional signs in excess of 3 square feet, pennant flags, whirligigs and banners, intermittently lighted signs, illuminated signs, there's some stuff there, billboard, this is, remember, prohibited, billboards or other off-site advertising. Wall signs shall not be extended above roof line. No freestanding sign shall be constructed on the roof of building. And then they've added some new information after that. No sign of any type shall be allowed within the town-owned street right of way. All temporary signs on public town-owned land shall require approval of the select board. And then there's this whole new section on the digital message board itself. So I could see why it might get pulled for now, because it's not as specific as it could be.
All right. Thank you. We'll be ready for that. Okay, anything else under pleasure of the committee? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
Bye.
Okay, goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Welcome, Amy.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.